proprietorship, internet company, Higher Lyrics Administrative Services. This begins a video series of teaching segments that we are using to share our learning. With regard to what? We are sharing our learning for how the layperson, the person who's not an official, not a law enforcement agency, not a court officer, how they can use pro se and layperson, non-attorney represented filings to attract no-nonsense litigators who may take their cases, may see the setup of paralegal data management, proper e-discovery, and court compliant filings on both the state court level and federal level, who may take on the foster care personal injury abuse cases, the personal injury and damages caused by unlawful imprisonment, illegal detainer, retaliatory arrest, police brutality, so I'm going to be reading different segments of how a legal assistant like me also simultaneously markets a case study page. The consumer audiences that we want to consume our work product contribution of case history, background, verifications, evidence gathering, depositions, expert witness testimony, and witness testimony are the legal industry, the legal community, professionals, the support services for the professional, legal support services, and criminal justice, law enforcement, prosecutors, attorney generals, state legislatures making decisions about funding, making determinations about mass fraud and who should be investigated and who should be indicted, so that we can do not only our court compliant filings properly redacted, we can upload them properly redacted so that qualified experts can see what the merits of the case are, the jurisdictional challenges, the contingent liabilities, and see what they want to take on individually, or when they see a growing class action is needed. In this case, one having to do with impacting public safety. Okay? The public integrity commissioners, they can look at this and they can say, this is truly a public safety issue when our Philadelphia juvenile courts or any juvenile court in any state deliberately, legally malpractices the dependency and custody of a child, an adolescent, a young adult, or a disabled or aging person for no other reason than to accommodate the R.I.C.O, racketeering influence, corrupt organization, kidnap for profit schemes of the city of, in this case, Philadelphia Department of Human Services, or the Department of Human Services Employee Misconduct in other states trusted to dispense the federally funded Children's Protective Services money intended for the preservation of families. Okay? So we're going to be uploading links to authoritative references, right? You're free to use them. There'll be a download, and depending on where you're seeing this video series, they're going to be long segments. I'm doing this especially for CNN Report, where we can upload like 30, 36 minutes at a time. The Nazirah Nixon case, we have the here in Philadelphia, Sharyce Armstead, and of course, Roxanne Grinage versus Firm Brown Kaplan, which set off for us, Higher Lyrics Administrative Services, a new civil rights movement where families fight back and say no more DHS demonic horror stories because of the Philadelphia Family Court deliberate legal malpractice by Judge Robert J. Matthews to literally irreparably destroy, injure my grandchildren, Ezekiel Brown and Arriyel Roxanne. So today we're going to show you in video what a standard claims intake looks like for Sharyce Armstead. Now, Sharyce Armstead is in the same courtroom as Judge Jonathan Q. Irvine, for which we have already documented has legally malpracticed to accommodate malpractice state laws, statutes, policies, and procedures of Children's Protective Services, and even DHS policies and procedures and juvenile best practices and procedures to accommodate corrupt social workers. Now, what do we want to, when we market this case study, what do we want to market it as, right? In other words, who are we trying to attract? We're trying to attract the expertise that already documented the modus operandi of a crime where there were already multiple indictments. So when we look at the conducts of the social workers in Sharyce Armstead's dependency matter in City of Philadelphia, Courtroom H, Judge Jonathan Q. Irvine, and we look at the legal malpractice, Judge Jonathan Q. Irvine's conduct and the DHS conduct, DHS social worker and employee child advocate conduct in Jonathan Q. Irvine's Courtroom H, where Natalie Stevenson and Enrique Nixon and the UCCJEA father, Enrique Nixon in New York, the social worker conducts, how they literally plucked the subject of a child that was in a domestic relations custody matter out from under both parents, trespassing on New York, trespassing on Pennsylvania, Fourth Amendment rights, the grandmother's rights, who had the baby by the UCC custodial father's consent, right? You see the thuggish conduct, I mean literally manhandling this child, overlooking, evading accountability for worsening physical child abuse injuries occurring, and the video of the child at the visits, the DHS controlled visits, where you'll see the worsening post-traumatic stress injuries. So what Higher Lyrics is hoping to do is to attract those attorneys by doing a notice of claim to all respondents with e-discovery. And again, depending on where you see this, look down in the more information section and you'll see the various definitions of what e-discovery is, file types, how they're admissible in a court of law, the limited exceptions in a particular state for surveillance, if it's a crime in progress, and did you notify the Attorney General and so on for the surveillance. And so where you're gathering your evidence responsibly, law-abiding, but still recognizing you're an extremely competitive process, starting out at a disadvantage for having been publicly defamed, financially devastated because someone else is getting paid for taking your child, well, not taking care of, abusing your child. Child support orders come in on you. And in the case of Sharyce Armstead, a few days before her next hearing, she documented in Judge Irvine's court the perjury of her DHS social workers, and what she got in return for that was a call, not a letter, a call saying turn yourself in for welfare fraud. So you can look at trumped up charges. So what we're doing today is we're taking forms that we can do administratively where we say, okay, hi. Okay. Where we say, okay, they're saying things about us. They don't have to prove it in Judge Jonathan Q. Irvine's court. Judge Jonathan Q. Irvine, or this Philadelphia Family Court Juvenile Judge Kevin M. Dougherty, Judge Robert J. Matthews, they're acting like factory-like facilitators to fast-track the sale of my child to the DHS contractors for profit. So I'm still going to file into their courts the evidence that truly is in the best interest of my child. But in the meantime, I'm going to recognize that they care less about what's in the best interest of my child. And I am going to I'm going to file the evidence as e-discovery, right, on a data disk, also itemized and exhibit and summarize, itemized exhibits, an index of exhibits, itemized and summarized in my pleadings, either in a complaint, in a federal personal injury case, or a notice of claim to sue, in a Pennsylvania statutory notice of claim to sue, for personal injury, punitive damages as well. And I'm going to file all the expert witness reports of the child psychiatrists and people in the medical profession, the experts, that say what happens when you yank children around at visits, what happens when you leave children around with people that aren't even in their culture or have anything to do with them, that are exposed for sexualizing children, dancing in diapers, tweaking, which is the term for tweaking is being used now for a term. Just look it up on YouTube. There's a lot of, you can't even say it's a cultural phenomenon, because fathers and mothers in all cultures, African American, Latino, French descent, like this Night of Michelle is, are all trying to regain the ability to instill their own values and principles on their children. And yes, they have corporally punished, physically disciplined their young daughters for doing tweaking videos, okay? And that is another way in for Department of Human Services to say, oh, you're an abusive parent, we have to go give her to this child abuser where she could be sexually trafficked now. So there's a video of a baby tweaking and the Facebook profile. Now, Facebook is not where the litigation goes on. Facebook is not the authority here. The authority is always going to be a court or the prosecutor, the grand jury. But how do we get, when the U.S. Attorney General's name David Memminger wrote me a letter and said, we can only act on, investigate referrals made by existing law enforcement agencies or the courts. So we're the lay person complaining about the court. If you go to the Attorney General's websites, their official websites in all 50 states, they have the ability for layperson referral, layperson complaint forms about insurance fraud and other matters. So why can't we do a citizen's layperson referral of claims data verified en masse, speaking to the public safety emergency need as to why Philadelphia Family Court and Philadelphia working class student and impoverished families need the same top shelf investigation as were given to the Middle District, Pennsylvania, that got the kids for cash prosecutions for the condemning children to juvenile court without any due process or their court dates coming up and all. And then the contracting out of New York, the Free Report of an ex-law enforcement officer who's at a law firm now, the Free Report, F-R-E-E-H report, that actually showed the accountability of a previously unquestioned institution, Penn State University, in failing to report, respond, and prevent the criminal child abuse crimes of Gary Sandusky.